Positive Show. Hope you're doing well. Again, guys, this is a lovely song by Ibi, VK, and the song earlier was by Covenant Olatunde, the Covey Band. Welcome to the Be Positive Show, guys. I did miss you all. This is Ryan, great guy. He's a lovely science enthusiast who actually turned his passion into a profession. And he's a talented young individual, and we're going to learn a lot about him. At the same time, guys, to get his social contacts and all his information, use the command !guest. Otherwise, Ryan, welcome to the show. Hope you are doing well.
Hey, thank you, Bibi. Sorry about that. That was a little bit of mishap on my end. I wasn't sure what was going on there, so I had to restart everything.
That's fine. So how are you? How is everything going with you? And I believe in Dubai it's Eid at this point, so Eid Mubarak to you, Ryan.
Yes, Eid Mubarak to you and for everybody else as well.
So how are you doing? How was the whole, let's say, quarantine kind of phase? And then I believe you're on holidays as well. So how is the whole holiday going on so far?
The quarantine was as horrible as it sounds like it could be. I was lucky enough not to get infected or anything like that, so thank God for that. But it was absolutely mind-numbingly terrible just to have absolutely nothing to do almost every single day, and then to roll from that right into the summer months now, where as a teacher I'm now on vacation, but yet can't even go home and see my family. So I'm sort of stuck here at the level of being like spinning my wheels. I feel like sometimes, just waiting for the school year to start up so that I've got, purpose in life again.
That's really interesting. I mean, many people look out for the holidays, but then most of us, when the holiday comes, we feel so unproductive and it's like, I just want something productive back in my life. It's true.
Yeah.
We humans complain wherever we are. It's pretty interesting how that actually turns out. So Ryan, how long have you been a teacher, and what kind of teacher are you? Are you like a math teacher, or are you like a biology teacher? Tell us more about your profession.
I'm a science teacher. I've been doing it for 8 years, going on 9 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught all the sciences, all the core sciences, biology, chemistry and physics, as well as the middle school level, areas as well. I've taught Earth and space science, and I've even had a full semester of teaching math, middle school math. So, but no, I'm a science teacher by trade.
That's amazing. And how long have you liked science? Like, did you like it in high school, or was it a thing that you gained after you graduated college? Like, when did all this start?
I would literally say, like, since I was in elementary school, primary school years, that I was just always had like my one friend Floyd. He was the science nerd, science geek of the school, and he and I just like ran around like doing like pretending everything was like science, and were these grand like discoveries around every corner. Now that's a big over exaggeration, because all little kids just run around anyways doing making make believe and pretend as it is. But just sort of always really followed it, and not to say that other passions haven't come and gone as well though. But,
do you want to mention some of them?
I really love history. I love understanding the backgrounds of things, where things came from and why they are the way they are now, which is a major player in what our understanding of science is now, and what it's going to, and the leading that like allows us to understand the leading edges of science and where they came from, and sort of the direction they're trying to go, without understanding necessarily what they're even trying to accomplish. So that's one of them, and then just other more kinesthetically guided like feats, such as hiking or climbing, sort of things that I embark upon.
That's really nice. A big shout out to Floyd, who was your partner, let's say the first partner who you were able to do your science geeky stuff as a child. And that's really cool, because having someone to do these things with you kind of makes it more entertaining and pushes you forward to more learning. And I believe that's a good start that you had over there.
Yeah.
Do you want to share with us the first, let's say, scientific experiment that you've done? Even though it might sound silly or it sounds like for today's like generation, but I'm really interested. What kind of science experiment did you start with?
I can't answer that question. I have no idea what the first one was that I started with, because I've enjoyed science almost my entire life. That, you know, like, what was the first scientific experiment you ever did when you were a little kid? You know, probably like knock a cup over on the ground and like watch it fall and like wonder to yourself, not only did it fall, but the milk that was inside spilled too, and, you know, sort of thing. So probably, you know, a gravity driven experiment, most likely, you know, rolling something down a hill and trying to understand why it rolls down a hill. Why does you do heavier objects appear to fall faster than lighter objects and that sort of thing. Now I can explain like how that was a misconception, stuff like that, and where the experiment came from later in life that allowed me to understand why that isn't so, that heavier objects don't fall faster than lighter objects. But, you know, that's that sort of thing. But I would say probably that I can't answer that. It's a gravity experiment, most likely.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of rephrase the question. What was your favorite experiment? So it can be when you're an adult as well. So what was your favorite experiment?
My favorite experiment would probably have been mixing chemicals and making a volcano. When I was a little kid, you know, everybody loves the baking soda and vinegar volcanoes. Put a little red food coloring in there and you've got yourself some lava that's going to spit up out of a tube, and you're going to call that tube a volcano. And, you know, everybody just gets to like have fun with it. And like my favorite is to also do that with the kids as well. Just, you know, like I call it simple science, but it's still exciting science because it brings a smile to everybody's face no matter what it is. And, you know, if you wanted to, you know, get your hands on some more intricate chemicals such as like potassium permanganate and that sort of thing, you know, you can make some much better volcanoes and much more explosive volcanoes while still staying in the realm of safety. But that's probably my all-time favorite one to do, is that one, as well as, you know, like everybody loves the Mentos Experiment.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite. Yeah. I was gonna talk about that, but yeah, it's like I like just putting it soda and then spraying everyone with it. That is like just hilarious. That's actually interesting. I like that you have that like childhood spirit and the fact that you want to keep doing experiments. In fact, me and you should meet up once to do a volcano experiment. We'll go like outside in some like empty area and we'll land the bomb, do the volcano in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, come on out, or, you know, if they ever open the borders back up between Dubai and Elaine, you know, be able to come out, you know, do a hike with you, and then, you know, like do some science experiment there.
Definitely.
Put on, you know, like Twitch here or something.
So guys, Ryan has this passion for climbing as well. I think I went with him hiking a couple of times before. So one was in Ras Al Khaimah and one was Elaine. He has so much energy, it's insane. And I remember, I think I talked about it in the last video when I did the yoga with his actual girlfriend. And Ryan has this thing where he's a really fast climber. Like it's really insane. So I was looking at him. I was just there having a conversation, and I look away for like 2 seconds, and he's literally up there on the mountain. It was insane. He has so much talent in climbing. He's like it's just natural, you know. He can jump straight up, climb anything. What takes me like 2 hours to climb could take him like 10 seconds to climb, and it's pretty insane. So I think those would be your two favorite things to do. I believe it would be climbing and learning about science. Would that be true?
Yeah, like more than anything, the overarching theme there is really just exploring. Even with science, you're exploring topics. You know, you get a question and you explore until you find an answer. And along the way, you're going to be coming up with more and more questions, and oftentimes getting really excited by these questions that you're coming up and being and like having all kinds of outbursts, usually when you're by yourself, about like why kinds of questions, and you're like, I don't understand that. If this and this, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, how is it like A equal to C as well? That sort of thing. Being able to move those pieces around, and try to like see how even somebody else's discovery applies to your life, and then when you use that to apply it to your life, that discovery, and see how it applies to your life, you might go run into more questions along the way about well why or how, sorts of questions, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Hind in the chat is asking, what theory are you interested in exploring in the future, Yani, or proving?
I'd really love to go after the holy grail of physics and explain time.
Do you want to like elaborate on it? What makes it interesting to you? So like the whole time space like theory, or do you just want to like figure out time travel? What makes it interesting to you?
Well, what makes it interesting to me is the fact that time is a very elusive concept to us as people. That if you look at it and you boil it down, yes, we can look at it and say the second law of thermodynamics and entropy is what defines time. That all things over time will move towards disorder. But what is the underlying aspect or cause of this? Why can things not move the other direction? Why is there an arrow of time that if I can move left, right, up and down in space, why can I not move left, right, up and down in time? Why is time always in one direction and the intangible? Like, sure, during that, like would I love to be able to find a way during that exploration to be able to find a way to grab hold of time and say, hey, I've got it, and I can now move sideways in time and that sort of thing. But that would really be the grand thing I would love to find. That or gravity. I would love to find out about gravity as well. Let's throw that in there. That was probably my original passion, was to find gravity, but that evolved into better understanding of what time is and that sort of thing. But I would say gravity or time.
That's amazing. So unfortunately, as far as science goes in today's world, we're just able to reach like, let's say, the fourth dimension yet. No, we haven't reached the fifth dimension yet in terms of our calculations and stuff. So we have theories about it, but we haven't reached that far. So unfortunately, it's still a little hard. Do you disagree with that, or do you feel like we as humans could reach it in the next, let's say, 100 years?
Now, I'm not going to agree or disagree with it, but because we certainly interact with the fourth dimension as well, but at the same time, those higher dimensions, those fifth dimensions, all the way up to like the 11th dimension, that we just know that they're just labeled as dimensions. That being able to interact with them shouldn't. My understanding is that it won't really mean much, because they're just simply a dimension that needs to be able to satisfy a mathematical formula. So what they represent, nobody really knows. But then these dimensions also are hypothesized to exist on the Planck scale, which is the smallest possible scale in which space means anything, which is 10 to the negative 34th meters. So at those scales, you've got those dimensions are considered loops, sometimes that they loop back in on themselves. But would I want us to be able to explore these dimensions further and be able to prove them? Sure, absolutely, I would. I would love to be able to see more and more exploration into this. But what I also want to see is more and more exploration into the fringes of what this is, because we've been going down this road of exploring multiple dimensions for the last 70, 80 years, really, since like the 1920s and 1930s, we've been, developing this, theory, this grand unifying theory of everything. And now it's, that's turned into string theory, and then that string theory turned into M theory. And it's just not really leading anywhere, that we're not making these grand leaps that we once were, in our exploration of the strong nuclear force. But I would like to see, more further explorations, I think, into other things that, these small scale scientists are doing with, moderate budgets, that they're able to survive on, like, a lot of these, small scale projects, are run by budgets that are only $200,000 a year, right? But when you take $200,000 a
Yes,
year and
yes.
you say, I'm going to need to spend on this and this and this and this, you're left with a measly $30,000 a year for yourself to try to keep a roof over your head and food on your table. And it's, kind of like, wow, where are we going? Kind of thing with this. But these are the guys that are really doing science for the sake of science. And those are the things that I really want to see is, not big science, these, particle colliders finding extra dimensions, but the small science, the people that we herald in today's, science textbooks about, understanding how this, what the structure of DNA looks like, that sort of thing. That I would like to see us, pursue, more of that sort of thing.
Interesting. So Ryan, a question. Let's say I'm a child, right? I'm a child, or let's say I'm an adult who has basic knowledge of science, just what I learned from high school and merely what I learned in university as well. And I want to kind of get into the whole science. What's like a good place or a good resource on the internet to start with? Is there like, how do you usually keep track of your, or how do you usually do your research? Do you just go to like Google interesting science facts, or is there like a weekly thing that you receive? How do you usually learn more?
Well, how I usually learn more, like, well, weekly science facts, like, yeah, there's like a thing that on like Facebook or Instagram, that just like I follow, and that will come up, and I'm just sort of like, ooh, look what we did this week in science, which is really fascinating for me. But for myself, how I investigate science is, I am guilty. I Google a lot of stuff. Thank you, Dr. Google, for helping me out with a lot of things. But I also try to use Google, though, to help me find some specific resources, like journals, for instance. I'll try to, look up a certain topic in a journal or from a university website, sort of. So that's if I'm going to research something on, say, the interaction of electricity and magnetism, to create light, then I'm not going to just look on forums that I find in Google, but I'm going to try to go to more peer-reviewed journals if possible.
Cool. And do you usually get bored of this, and do you continue, or like the more you read, the more you want to learn more? How does the experience usually go with you, or it's different based on what you're learning?
It's different based on what I'm learning. Just like anybody, I might get bored with a topic if I'm not making enough progress in it fast enough. But then there's other topics that I, continue to dig at not day after day necessarily, but year after year, and will never give up on. Things like, understanding quantum mechanics, for instance. I've, started digging at that, got really excited by it once upon a time, and continue to, look things up on understanding the interactions of things below the level of the proton. Like why do these fields like exist, and how do they interact, and what happens when they interact, and why do we have bosons, and what is a boson, and what are virtual particles, where do they come from, that sort of thing.
Interesting. So I see you're really into the whole time and space theory and everything that like kind of compensates that theory. That's really really interesting, and I hope that one day we'll be hearing about you proving or exploring or figuring out some real nice theory. How good are you at math? Like, I want to ask you this question, not like just to test your skills, but like, do you feel that you want to improve your math skills to be able to do those really heavy and complicated computations? Or do you feel that that shouldn't be your issue? Someone else has to take care of math and you worry about the theory? How does that usually work?
Oh, okay. There's always room for improvement on math. Do I consider myself a good at mathematics? I'm fair. I'm fairly good at math. I can do it well enough that I can, work with students in physics. I can work with students in chemistry. Everything from computing trajectories and projectiles to understanding the mathematics of energy and motion. So when it comes to simple algebra, very good at that. Would I like more exposure and experience working with calculus? Absolutely. When I was in university, I loved calculus. But I just haven't, had a chance to continue utilizing it, to keep poking at it, and, to open that bag up again, that calculus bag up again, would, certainly entail a whole devotion into itself, as I recall that it was. It would be a relearning of a lot of different, mathematical material, certainly. But luckily, there are people out there that do devote their lives to that. So working in collaboration with a lot of those mathematicians really would help move along science as we know it. That I don't have to know everything. I just have to have an idea and be able to and a drive to explore that, and know where my resources are to continue to explore that.
Interesting. In your let's say in the so you've had Floyd as a child. So far in your current current age and current community, do you have someone who's as enthusiastic about science as you are? Or do you have someone who can support you at this point? And it's fine if you don't. Hopefully you'll find someone. But like, have you felt that? Is there like a coworker or like someone who you're close with who's really always excited to be doing with? Someone you might consider a partner.
Yeah, certainly. Any colleague I have in school that's also in science, as well as the colleagues I've got in like the math field. A lot of mathematics teachers have also spent time as science teachers, interestingly enough. So there's a lot of crossover passions there that you get to, while you're in school, like maybe sitting down with each other during lunch, you get to, completely like geek out with each other about whatever topic is going on. Be it the sky crane and what they did with that, what NASA was able to do with that, to get a rover on Mars, and how you might be able to use that same idea to do something else elsewhere around the solar system, or, like trying to look at things for aerodynamics and fluid dynamics, and, what that would mean, and like, why does a shark's skin, have the most fluid or most hydrodynamically aligned form and features of itself and stuff like that. That it's really, really compelling and exciting to be able to geek out with people. So my colleagues when I'm at work, yes. Outside of work, not entirely, no. There's, it's hard to, always have that one person who's just a complete nerd or geek and, totally obsessed with the subject matter. And, rather than being we all have our own obsessions, but usually those obsessions are what's going on tonight, what are my friends doing, that sort of thing. And I have those just like anybody else does. So, but it would be, I haven't had somebody like that in my life in many, many years, actually, though.
Fair enough.
So, like, I've been my own kind of lone ranger, as you would say.
Well, I hope you find someone who's as passionate about especially quantum mechanics as you are, and maybe perhaps you guys could potentially partner up and do it. One viewer on the chat is saying Ryan is such a cute nerd. So thank you guys for the comment. Again, guys, if you want to get in touch with Ryan, and you want to know more about him, you can use the explanation mark guest as usual, so you can get his socials. At the same time, guys, this is the Be Positive show. We have this show every Friday and Saturday, and feel free to follow me on Twitch to be able to get the notifications. I usually do the show on the weekends and some gaming content on the weekdays. So again, thank you all for being here, and big shout out to everyone who came from Ryan's side today. So Ryan, in terms of the academia, are you ever planning to get a PhD in a certain topic? Have you ever thought about that?
Oh, the thought has certainly crossed my mind. Like getting a PhD in anything from biochemistry, I've thought about, or getting, maybe even like, physics, but that's a much, larger beast of an undertaking than, I just don't want to necessarily devote myself that much of my life to it. Like I absolutely love science, and I love my own unique individual passions, but sometimes my passions are scattered around that. I can easily put down like one passion in biology just to pick up another passion when it comes to physics or whatever I'm looking to do. It's sort of so. PhD level, no. Masters in something, absolutely. Be much sooner, get a degree, another degree in some science field, and and get my master's in that. But I would really doubt myself getting a PhD. That's a lot of work. A lot of work, and anybody who has ever gotten a PhD is certainly, deserves all the respect in the world.
I mean, they get the title doctor, so being a doctor in whatever field is still very impressive, because they did. Some PhDs even take like 15 to 20 years, and I'm like, wow, this guy had to wait 20 years to get a certificate. Like, good for them,
right? Yeah, good for them for putting in that sort of time and devotion to it. To a single topic, but like me, I like having my finger in a little bit of like every little pot if I can, and they don't give out PhDs for that.
Unfortunately, I mean, you never know. Maybe sometime you'll discover something and actually do a PhD for that. I'd apply. Just saying.
Right.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that would be, what's your plan for the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years? So you're not going to do a PhD, so what would be the plan instead? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
I still want to continue to be a science teacher. I love exploring science with students. It helps keep me grounded as well, as to where science, what the sometimes simpler science is. Like when I came out of university, I remember there was a lot of science topics I had to go back and, would teach middle school kids, and I hadn't thought about or, even, looked at for a long time. And so it really helps, me to understand what the basic levels of science are, because, science, just like anything, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. You're going to forget about it. You're not going to be worried about it. And you're going to be driven to, push on to other things. And as I said in the beginning of the stream, that I have another passion for history, and that's also understanding where things come from. And, by, continuing to just be a science teacher and keep myself grounded at the, secondary level of science, I would love to keep going in that direction where I get to drive other people's passions and help them maybe not align their passions with science, but help them direct their passions if they have a passion in science. Help give them a nudge here or nudge there to keep them on course, and don't make these mistakes of not being becoming disinterested in science.
That's interesting. Wow. Okay. So you say you like teaching children. Why? Do you feel like it's really nice to kind of transfer the knowledge that you have to people who could potentially use it for good? or do you just enjoy being a teacher, being able to like take care of the people? Why is the passion for teaching there in you?
All right. So, yes, when I first got into the world of teaching, there's like an evolution here. That when I got first got in, like I wanted to impart all my knowledge that I had on the students and like all these young minds, because I've got this wealth of knowledge that I've come up with. I really, really am looking forward to driving everybody else, down the same road I was going, per se. Then I kind of got into the whole world of like, wait a second, why am I just, like kind of trying to impart my knowledge on them? Why not, just simply foster their knowledge? Allow them to, grow their own knowledge, because they're not me and I'm not them. And I ran into a lot of frustrations and complications early on because I'm not them and they're not me. They might even be science literate and science enthusiastic, but they're not me at the same time, just as I was, science enthusiastic and science literate. But, instead I found it's easier to help them, focus on their unique passions. And that's the easiest way to grow other people as a scientist, is to help them foster their own passions, rather than just simply say, here's all this knowledge I have, take it and run with it and do great things, kind of thing. And like that wasn't really like the thing that was working out so much.
Well, that's really nice. That's exactly what a good teacher would say, and I'm really happy to hear that from you. In fact, again, you kind of do almost have 10 years of experience, so I'm sure you've been through a lot of phases, and you've done many mistakes that you've learned from, and clearly the results are showing, and that's really nice. I kind of feel that this is your character as well. As you learn things, you start building it into your character, and you're always like trying to see where people can benefit from each other, and that's really cool, honestly.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about maybe starting something of yourself, maybe like a science company, or starting a science project, a club, some sort of like, let's say, society, like something? Have you ever thought about something like that, especially in Dubai? Because I think like Dubai does have a lack of all these like when I was in Australia, and I'm sure a lot of this exists in America, where like you see those guys who show up, hey, you want to try our, like, come to our science club, we have a science show, blah blah blah. So we never see these in Dubai. So have you ever thought about doing something like that?
The idea of doing that kind of stuff with students has crossed my mind. There would be a lot of background work that would need to go into it, which is why there's a major hindrance or hurdle to being able to accomplish that sort of stuff. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there wouldn't be this, vacuum, as you've even noticed yourself, of science-related activities outside of the science classroom. Yes, we do have that in America as well. But because it takes a team of people to be able to successfully put something like that together. That very rarely do you have somebody that out there like your Steve Jobs that is able to be the visionary and singular driving force of an entire company in a area of the world. Like, of course, he was Apple, but so he and Steve Wozniak, so he had his tag team partner for that. Like me, I would need at least 1, 2, 3, 4 other people to help me out with that sort of thing.
Well, it is a little bit tricky, but I think if you kind of put your mind to it, I believe you can do it. Like, I believe it is possible, and hopefully we'll be seeing something like that in the near future. Well, good luck with that. And guys, again, if you are here and you know someone who can do this, or who can support Ryan in his mission, let's say, please do get in touch with him and send out those people who can help. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Dubai who are always interested to help, who are always interested to support these kind of, let's say, innovations, or let's say initiatives that come up, especially in a good way, like such as science or something that would help benefit people, especially the children. So that would be really cool, Ryan, and best of luck with that. Like that would be really, really
Thank
interesting.
you. Thank you.
So Ryan, a funny question that I want to ask you, and I'm sure I kind of mentioned it to you a couple of times. The biggest science show that people talk about is The Big Bang Theory. Have you started watching it? And if not, do you have plans to watch it?
No, I have not started watching it. I've been told my whole life since that show came out that I really should watch that show. That show, I'm just like one of the characters on that show. That there is this, what's his name in that show? Anyways,
Sheldon. You're like Sheldon.
Sheldon, yeah, like that. Like he would so like mirror Sheldon so well, and you would really get a kick out of it. And like people have been telling me that literally for almost 10 years now. And I have not had a chance to see it. And I mean, I'm not going to pass up a chance to see it, but I could probably move that onto my list of shows to watch in the near future.
I think it should be literally the next show. I mean, once I'm pretty sure once you start it, I don't think you will be able to stop. Like, I believe the very first show they start all the science, like they literally throw all science on you. It would be impossible to stop, especially that you would like. I watched the show, right? But most of the times I wouldn't get many of their science jokes just because I'm not that like expert or like advanced in the science realm. But I believe you would be able to understand them and actually get the joke to its full like potential and full extent. So I think like the show would be 10 times more entertaining to you specifically than any other person who just enjoys the show. So I feel like in your case specifically, I think once you start, I think you're just gonna binge the whole show in like 2 weeks or even less if possible.
Right. Like one thing that I actually really love about that show, without ever having even watched it though, is the fact that they really do a great job of putting science on the forefront for people, and really making these like scientists and ideas behind scientists a really large driving force in the popular culture media that most of the world is self-absorbed in. That no longer is it pop stars and the Kardashians, and everybody wants to look like the Kardashians and keep up with the Kardashians and stuff like that. But it's now like it's fit its way into the popular culture and mainstream media to really give a lot more science education to the mainstream, so that when things are talked about around the world, people will at least have a little bit of a understanding of it because they've heard that before somewhere. Oh, you know what? I've heard that on one of my sitcoms that I watch, kind of thing. But it's still a very science valid sitcom, So I really like that idea behind the show, that they were able to, whoever the producers were, they did a great job of getting that show on the mainstream media.
Yes. In fact, so the show ends at 12 seasons, but funny story, the show could have actually continued, and they actually did sign the 13th and the 14th seasons, but Sheldon or Jim Parsons, the actor, decided not to continue with the show, unfortunately. So the show had to stop after 12 seasons, or else it could have been, until this day, it kept going, and it was such a great show. Everyone was really upset that the show ended last year, so last year was the last episode. But yeah, that show was really great. And funny story, I don't want to spoil it for you, but Sheldon actually has a whole research on string theory. So like I don't want to talk much about it, but like
if they didn't touch on string theory in that, I would be very disappointed in that show. I mean, it's a very mainstream thing to know about string theory and investigate string theory. So I really would, love to see what they've done with string theory, or see if they get into quantum gravity even,
I'm not gonna spoil it. I'll just have to wait till you watch it. Then we can discuss after you watch it. But yeah, I guess definitely something you should be watching. All right, guys. we're almost ending soon, so I'm gonna give you guys a chance to ask questions. So if you are here and you're interested to know more, just there's a chat, guys. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll be having my last questions, and then we can take a couple from the chat, and then it's time to actually say goodbye to you, Ryan. Even though I kind of love this topic and I want to keep talking and talking about it, but yeah. So my last question would be, so you mentioned quantum mechanics, right? If you were offered a job to be like, so like you're a teacher right now, but if you were offered a job just to fully be doing research on quantum physics, but somewhere where you don't have to meet people, like you're just fully committed and invested in research on something that you're really passionate about, would you take that job, or would you rather just be you, do the teaching, be with your friends, the people around you? I know it's a little tough one, but what would you do?
Yeah, I would jump at the opportunity, even though my understanding of quantum mechanics is very nascent, very like small. I would love to jump at the opportunity to learn more about it, and nothing like on-the-job training to become better versed in whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, absolutely, I would jump at that opportunity.
All right.
That'd be an awesome opportunity.
Well, good
do
luck.
You know somebody?
I mean, if I know someone, I know I can trust you to say yes to the job now. So, guys, again, if you know someone who has, who needs a research and development guy, Ryan, I believe, is the guy for you. So yeah, I guess we don't have any questions in the chat, but a couple of people are. One person likes your smile. They're loving your smile. And Joe Hart is giving you hearts, and then there's Hind giving you a couple of emojis, and she said you are the climbing monkey, the monkey spider. That's really cute. All right, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show. That was really insightful, and I really wish you the best. I mean, I could potentially see stuff coming from you in the near future, perhaps in your school, or in Dubai in general, and then hopefully moving that globally, and then we'll be seeing you on national TV doing something really cool. Please do the volcano on national TV, like the whole volcano experiment. That would be really cool. And I'm really looking forward to doing it with you. I promise you we will. So like, I'm actually gonna go out there and do it. But yeah, thank you so much for today. Anything you would like to say to the Be Positive Show before we end this?
No, everybody just keep following your passions and don't ever give up. You know, never stop questioning things, and don't cherry pick data. Don't take one sort of piece of data and say this is a fact, you know, sort of thing. You know, like gather all sources. So try to be as, you know, scientifically literate as you can, so that you can always be well informed about, you know, things, and be getting more and more knowledge.
That's amazing. All right, Ryan, thank you so much, guys. This is the Be Positive Show. Today we had this really nice episode about science. Tomorrow we're gonna have another person, and I'm gonna keep him a surprise, but he's a really interesting one. He's gonna be teaching us about how to take a position of someone better than you at a job, which is pretty interesting, but I won't tell you who until tomorrow. But thank you, Ryan, for today. Guys, please do follow Ryan. Go support him on his socials. Please do follow the show and the channel. I do this show on the weekends and some gaming content on the weekdays. Otherwise, have a good day, everyone. I'm going to be rating my friend as usual. And I'll see you guys next episode. Take care, and bye, Ryan.
Okay.
See you.
Bye.